Probably just like you, one day I found myself watching dozens of videos on YouTube about advantages and disadvantages of CELTA. I was reading blogs by those who took the exam, and then I found out about an exam called Ofqual Regulated Level 5 TEFL, which is basically an equivalent of CELTA but is significantly cheaper. So I started reading about the comparison of two courses, and what I was looking for is an answer to, is CELTA worth the money? And I couldn't find the answer. I tried to find the answer if Ofqual Regulated TEFL 5 was worth the money, and I also couldn't find the answer. And it seemed like all these teachers out there online posting about the course have so much money that they can easily spare 2,000 euros or pounds on a course like that and miss out on a monthly wages because, for example, Fast Track CELTA course takes 4 weeks and is Monday to Friday 9 to 5. That made me quite sad, because in my situation I would have had to save this kind of money for at least a year, considering I was going on holiday. So value for money was a crucial point for me. At that time I had already been teaching English for 4 years in my home country. I had teacher knowledge tests from Cambridge. I had proficiency in English from Cambridge. And so I had to really consider all pros and cons before spending any kind of money on an exam like that. In this long and detailed video, I will share with you the real costs of the Ofqual Regulated Level 5 TEFL exam. That means money, time, and mental costs. And I also did short interviews with my colleagues who took CELTA exam in the past, so I'm going to share a brief summary of that as well. Are you ready? Then follow me. This video is for those teachers of English as a second language who at least have a few years of teaching experience. And by that I mean you know how to work with different kinds of students, you know that different types of students actually exist and they might need different kind of approach. You know how to teach speaking, listening, reading and writing skills. You know that there are different types of exercises that you do before teaching reading, during reading a text, and so-called post-reading exercises, and you're definitely familiar with a type of exercises called true or false statements. And the reason you're thinking of taking CELTA course is because you would want to start charging more for your lessons, well deserved, or maybe you're going to move to a country where your home country degree is not valid anymore, or you just want to have a solid proof of your great teaching skills. I basically described myself in 2013 now, and I actually started saving for a CELTA course that I wanted to take in the UK because I read that it's considered to be more respected. But unfortunately the economic crisis struck my home country and all my savings in my national currency turned into nothing against the almighty British pound. It was July 2020 and in the country where I was living and still am living, I was not able to get a teaching position officially because I didn't have a certificate like CELTA, and I just worked in customer service. So I thought it's COVID times, it's actually impossible to do anything offline, so I went for a completely online Ofqual Regulated Level 5 TEFL exam. I did a bit of research and I found a school that offered the course with a promotion, so I thought I would end up paying 379 euros for the whole course. At least I thought that at the moment of paying. As soon as I paid, I got access to 11 modules and I had 6 months to complete them. But my plan was to finish everything by the end of September, so I finished my first module on the 25th of July and I finished the last module on the 26th of August. Each module consists of a lecture, your reading materials, and an exam. An exam has 2 parts to it. First, you have to complete quiz-like questions, and second, you have written assignments. So this can be more academic questions requiring some academic referencing. Quiz-like questions are pretty straightforward, and some questions are really making you feel like you're actually taking an English A2 exam with questions like, is went a past form of the verb to go, yes or no? And then there are open questions, answers to which are firstly assessed by the school you're taking the course from before they send them to the UK for the final assessment. The open questions vary from very creative ones based on your experience to very academic ones like briefly describing the origin of English language. Most of the questions require academic referencing, and this is something I really enjoy doing. I have learned about so many useful websites. I discovered so many great books that I love spending my time researching, so I wouldn't be adding this time to the time that I actually needed to complete the course. That was completely extra. So on average, I spend about 3 hours per module. There are 11 modules, so 33 hours in total doing the course. But it's worth mentioning that I never really read all the contents of the lectures through, because I really know how to teach English, and I know the difference in different approaches, and I know the difference between pre-reading and post-reading exercises. The questions in the test, though, sometimes really baffled me, like, please provide 4 examples of word class and detail their uses. Explain the pedagogical value of teaching aids in the box below. Like, seriously, explain the value of breathing? Sounds like that to me. Sometimes I really felt like I have to stand in front of a group of elementary school children and explain very basic life truths to them. Answering most of the questions sometimes felt like singing the alphabet song. You know, the A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, that one. It's like sitting among 9-year-olds and actually waiting for your turn to raise your hand and answer the question in a classroom. The month that I was taking the course and dedicating 2 to 3 hours a week doing it, I couldn't help but thinking, is CELTA the same but offline? I tried to imagine myself sitting in the classroom and listening to a serious Delta trainer explaining to me in great detail how to pre-teach vocabulary. And I was asking myself, how would I survive something like that? And again, this video is for teachers who already have experience in teaching English as a foreign language to adults or younger students. So imagine listening to a 2-hour lecture on doing something that you already know of, that you're already good at, and then you go and practice the skills as if you just learned them on your own colleagues or even strangers who act like students. Doing that, I immediately remembered those workshops for teachers in the first language school that I worked for, where they wanted to really drill into your heads the idea of never ever saying the word, now let's do this exercise, because it ruins the sequence, the flow of the lesson. What you should really do is something like, oh well, last lesson we were talking about shopping, and what is the integral part of shopping? That's right, negotiations. Negotiations is what we're going to talk about today. A bit crazy. So that's 379 euros, 1 year in dead nerve cells, and 40 euros for a digital certificate. I swear, when I was reading the prices, I saw this as the price for a hard copy one. Well, anyway, I waited for a month and I didn't get any result, any notification, nothing. So I called them and they say that I'm not very much behind and they're gonna do the review of my exam next week. They did it the next day, which got me thinking that if I hadn't called, I could have been waiting much longer. So I'm getting my answers with failed or passed marks, and I got so many fails, I couldn't believe it. I had to make sure that red was for a failed one. And here you can start laughing at me and thinking that I overestimated my abilities. Ooh, I thought that I had so much relevant experience and I couldn't even succeed in the exam. But I'm going to give you some examples of my answers that apparently were failed ones and the comments that I received, and then you can decide for yourself if it was a lack of my experience or it's just a very weird testing system. So the question was, explain the importance of English in economic, social, and cultural terms. Please discuss each term separately, and I was given a 100-word limit, so this was my answer. English is normally the second language pupils learn in schools in non-English speaking countries. In Europe, that's 91% of pupils. That means English is the most likely language to get you foreign language speaking friends. Speaking of friends, it's very hard to find someone who at least didn't hear about the show. The Guardian considers TV series an international English teacher. You can connect with anyone in the world if you can quote a few jokes from there. It's also not uncommon now to speak English to your colleagues, even if Japanese is the mother tongue for both of you. Big companies are requesting their employees to speak English so that all international employees are included. English is the language of business. I will copy paste this in the video description so you can read it in greater detail later. Well, anyway, doesn't it sound like I actually answered the question? I gave something about social, economic, and cultural terms. I talked about TV series, talked about working environment, talked about making friends, right? No. Apparently, I failed because you have made some good points, but it is not clear how you have discussed the importance of English according to the terms, in particular social and cultural terms. Please clarify your answer. I rolled my eyes and I took a deep breath and I copy-pasted most of my answer and just added a few bits like English can be considered the door to the world of social interactions worldwide. Also, if you travel, you will normally find most descriptions in museums in English and one or two other European languages. Most scientific and cultural works are published in English, and so on and so on. But don't you think it was a bit unnecessary? And I definitely overdid the 100-word limit. Okay, moving on. There was a question that I failed 3 times. 3 times. And here is a good time to mention that only the first review of your answers is for free. Every next one is going to cost you 25 euros. And my boyfriend told me, look, come on, they're going to nitpick on your answers because they want the 25 euros. But I was so naive and I thought, no, there's no way, that's all for the education. They can't be like that. Can't they? So here's my top failed answer. The question goes like this. Interpret the ways in which person is indicated in English grammar by providing a brief summary in the box below. Please include at least one example of each. Limit is 100 words. So, my first answer. Proper nouns, Jack in brackets, nouns, a teacher, and pronouns, they, themselves, can all refer to people. There are also 3 grammatical persons. We normally refer to ourselves as I or we, to the person people were talking to as you, and the third party as he, she, they. The social trend of the past few years is to let people identify themselves in a way that's most comfortable for them. Merriam-Webster announced the pronoun they as its word of the year in 2019. It's important that English teachers not only teach grammar but also pay attention to its social application. Now, here's why I failed apparently. Your answer is along the right lines here. You have correctly described the different types of person and you have provided an example. To pass the question, you need to name the 3 types of person that you have stated. To be honest, I was speechless. I was like, what do you want from me? Didn't I just say that? Ourselves, people we're speaking to, third parties, it's all in my answer. To me it sounded more like, you're doing a great job, but we really need the 25 euros. Okay, I already gave them my blood, sweat and tears. I could go again. So I did a little iteration there. My corrected answer. We normally refer to ourselves as I or we, speaker, to the person people were talking to as you, addressee, and the third party is he, she, they, third party. And it was still a fail. Because you state that there are 3 grammatical persons, but you still have not stated what these are. You need to state the names of these and match them to your explanation and examples. At this point, I felt like I am ready to put on my boxing gloves and punch some good punch bag. At that stage, I could just pay them 25 or 50 euros. Just leave me alone. Just grade my answers and send them to the UK, please. Are you ready for an answer that they finally accepted? Proper nouns, Jack, nouns, a teacher, and pronouns, they themselves, can all refer to people. There are also 3 grammatical persons. Grammatical person refers to the degree of involvement of a participant in an action. First person, the speaker, I or we. Second person, someone being spoken to, use singular and plural. And third person, anyone being spoken about, he, she, it, or they. You know how most HRs do not really look through your CV, but look for the keywords like team player or attention to details. And unless they say something like that, they will just throw your CV away and will forget about it. I thought that something similar happened here. So they were looking for some keywords and they did not care about the whole meaning of the sentences I was writing. And that had nothing to do with my teaching abilities, nothing whatsoever. So this is it. I spent another 50 euros on these reassessments and it all amounted to 469 euros, which is still cheaper and faster than CELTA. And now I can be legally hired in English language schools in the country where I'm residing, which is Ireland. So what about CELTA? I did quick interviews with my colleagues who took CELTA in the past, and that could be 10, 15 or 3 years ago. And I asked them a blunt question. Having done that, would you pay for the course from your own savings? Because what I learned is that most of the teachers are being sent by the schools they're working for or universities to take on the course. And the most common answer is no, that they wouldn't pay. You may go on YouTube and watch all these videos about is CELTA really worth it, and you will hear people saying, oh wow, this is so challenging, so stressful, the days packed with useful information. And well, yes, it is challenging, it is stressful, but it is not packed with useful information if you have some considerable teaching experience. Even if you don't have that much teaching experience, but you studied English as a second language and you're very familiar with the course books, you might even have seen the teacher's book, you definitely know how the grammar works because you studied it yourself. So what's really the value for money in CELTA? General feedback from my colleagues was that it was mostly frustrating. Doing the Zerd class is really stressful because the teachers, the Delta trainers, really want you to do everything by the book, exactly the way they taught you earlier. And even if they might be saying that there is room for creativity, in reality, there is minimum. CELTA course teaches different approaches to teaching, but in the observed class, they only want to see the praised communicative approach, and any kind of deterrent from this approach will be heavily penalized. And some teachers even expressed confusion and frustration over how they were treated, being non-native speakers. Well, we also shouldn't forget that CELTA is a course, and course is heavily dependent on the people. And you might be lucky and you might be in the right country, in the right city, with the right trainers, and you will have the most amazing experience. And you might be not so lucky, and that will be a waste of your time and money. What is also important to consider is that the Fast Track CELTA is a very intensive 4-week course, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and it has the same structure all the way through. In the morning you have lessons, in the afternoon you're showing what you have learned in the morning. And that kind of doesn't make sense because CELTA is teaching teachers to appreciate students' needs and be gentle and adopt. And then we, in the CELTA course, just assume that everybody is ready to digest and analyze information in the morning and is absolutely ready to show their results and perform just a few hours later. It doesn't really make sense to me. To sum it all up, if you have some teaching experience, if you know all the basics, if you know some advanced stuff, both courses will be painful for you, but it is a necessary pain if you really need a certificate to get a job, right? So here the question is around 500 euros for Ofqual TEFL 5 or 2000 for CELTA. Let's think about it from a perspective of your employer, right? So you're a non-native English teacher. So they would be unfortunately choosing between their priorities, having a non-native or a native teacher. If they're ready to take a non-native teacher, that means that they will be looking at qualifications. And here, if you have experience, it wouldn't really matter if it's CELTA or TEFL, right? But if they are looking for a native English teacher and you will be competing against this kind of stereotypes and prejudices, CELTA might look more worthy from the employer's perspective. But I guess if you're a native speaker with zero experience and absolutely no degree, going for CELTA might be a good option for you, because your employer would definitely know that you received professional feedback on your lessons already. That was a lot of talking, and trust me, you didn't see my plan, it was even longer. The reason I did this video is because I really needed a video like that when I was contemplating and thinking of taking CELTA, and right now I'm thinking I'm so glad I didn't save that money for CELTA. I didn't go through that, because this online course that was just a month was enough for me. If you have any questions, please comment below and I will do my best to reply as soon as I can. And this video was brought to you by Russian Pie. Thanks for watching.